Alrighty. Welcome to the Unfiltered Race Fans Only podcast. This week it's just going to be me and Chris because Blake is on his honeymoon. Selfish bastard. Decided he didn't want to take us though. So we were at Kansas and Blake had some thoughts. We'll get into his. But for another week, trucks are off. So we just had the O'Reilly and the Cup primarily. ARCA ran some. Uh, our buddy Kevin is sponsoring J Davidesian, and so his logo's out there. Good for him. Happy to see that. He posted earlier where he's showing that she's now got his branding on his fire suit and everything. So that's awesome to see his business taking off in terms of getting out there in that sponsorship realm. But with that, we'll start with the O'Reilly race. Um, we'll start with the obvious. We don't even make it two full laps, and Carson Kvapil gets airborne, crazy airborne at that. Um, Obviously, I think we're all probably in agreement that was absolutely unnecessary what Byron was doing, especially in a part-time ride that caused that part-time ride at that in a JRM car. So you wrecked my
in a
own car
in
and a
a
guy who's
JRM
competing for the
300.
yep, and a car that's competing for the championship. So what'd you think about that, Chris?
That was the part that absolutely blew me away. Is pushing. I mean, I understand you want to try and take advantage of the air as much as you can at the beginning of the race, but you're three wide with two other teammates. All three were JRM cars, so you had the 88, the one, and the seven. And I understand the seven got that big run off the top, and it was probably not necessarily expected, but with the possibility of him being that close, I mean, I don't know if that's a, I don't know if we, as much as I don't like Byron, I'd like to put all that blame on Byron, but I'm also wondering if it's maybe a little bit of lack of experience from the spotter to not anticipate that run was going to be coming, but to ultimately not only take out the one upside down, potentially affecting his championship chase, but what it did to the 99, the same thing, parked him. I mean, that was the end of the race for him. Absolutely destroyed the 99 when he hit the one, and that was another guy in a severely underfunded team, not even the one, in a severely underfunded team that you took him out of the possibility of a championship uh, chase there.
Yeah, that was I just one the racing like that early on is just crazy to me that you're down there to help this program and if you win that's fine but like I think pretty sure Junior's number one edict is like don't wreck my cars and
Yeah.
to be lap two of a 300 mile or mile race and you get into him and send him airborne. I mean, obviously that wasn't the intention. I don't think that was expected by any means. It was just crazy how it picked that car up and threw it like it was nothing. That was insane.
Well, it was the fact that 99 hit him when he was sideways. That's what sent him airborne. But I mean,
Yeah,
the 99 hit him so hard that holy shit. That I just yeah the I mean on the one thing I just thought about is I think Byron's used to starting that way. That's the way you have to race in the Cup cars. You have to take advantage. You have to run hard at the start, and I just don't think that just didn't translate into how those cars drive compared to the Cup cars, and I just think he put himself in a bad position.
yeah, I agree. I just think I think he's not having one is going from the Sunday car to the Saturday car, and he's not doing it all that much. So just the adaptation there and just leads to making mistakes. I mean, we've seen Larson make a few of them this year as well, both he and the pit crew, and give up some opportunities there. So yeah, I mean, it definitely it's crazy just to see, your goal when you come down there is to win, but your goal is to also to help that team. Like you're there, it's like the all-star car. So why why are you pushing like that on lap two and then ultimately you damage your car and you annihilate this guy who's, struggling to put together a full season, and they were able to. And that's another race where another wasted opportunity, good car with Rodney and everything. So I hate that for Quaffle. Um,
No
yeah,
stage points. No, I
no,
mean, and
nothing.
finished last. Yeah, so he basically lap two finished with 1 point in that race.
Yep. So after that, we get to racing. Anything really about the race that jumped out to you that just was enjoyable? Like I felt like the race was just after that, it was just kind of so-so.
I mean, I think this is what everybody was afraid of with this new point system.
Yep.
I mean, these guys aren't going to take unnecessary risks. I mean, I think the only thing that would make it exciting is if you had almost a green white checker at the end of every stage, but that's not a guarantee with the stages. They may just call it and say this is the end of the stage. Um, Other than that, everybody's going to get strung out, and it's going to be back to the racing that we all grew up with. I mean, I know a lot of people think it's boring, but I think there's a lot more storylines to watch, which is something I'll kind of get into probably a little more in the cup race with the broadcast. Is there's plenty of stuff to watch on the racetrack if they're willing to go through the field and talk about it, and that was something that didn't happen very well on Sunday. But other than that, I honestly don't think there was anything wrong with either of the races, in my opinion. I mean, I know they were kind of runaways, but yeah,
And so, to that point, I think what we are seeing here, I mean, Algaier's at plus 291 now. Like he's up there like Reddick is. Like it's unbelievable the points he has over second place. Um, and this was for those who loved the playoff era and the winning you're in, what's developing here in 9 races in the Cup Series, and I think we're at 7 in the or 8 in the Xfinity side or O'Reilly, whatever you want to call it. You're seeing we're far enough in now, and people have seen their points margins grow to a substantial amount to where they've figured out relatively quickly they can't be stupid. You cannot afford to throw away opportunities, which is what makes it hurt so much more for someone like Carson Kvapil and what happened at the beginning, or the bad day that Austin Hill had a couple weeks ago. Is that you or the mistakes, where it was Martinsville, where Raja Cruz just lost his mind in the last 5 laps. You spotted the field, your competition, a lot of points that you didn't need to, and when you get to races like this, and Kansas, we're used to seeing it be wilder and crazier. But that was when every race meant that you could win your way into a championship option. And with it being back scored, like you said, more to a traditional state based on this point system, we're now just under halfway for some to get to the chase cutoff that they can't afford to do dumb shit. You're only going to have so many opportunities. We're at 9 races for Cup. Well, there's 26 before we get to the cutoff. So, and Tyler Reddick's won over 50% of them. So if you're going to catch up, you can't spot them a single inch. So,
no. I mean, but for me, I guess this is what I wanted to see the sport go back to. I know a lot of people might not like it. It's probably maybe an unpopular opinion, especially with the newer fans because they got so used to seeing the win and you're in and the chase and all the other bullshit that went into or the eliminations and but for me the best example I can give is say in the NBA, anybody that's ultimately watched the NBA, and I mean, I never was a huge fan of any other sport, but I do know enough, especially for somebody like Shaquille O'Neal, could not hit a fucking free throw to save his life. But it would be coming down to the end of the fucking potential for the playoffs, and he gets a chance at a championship run because in his very last game he happened to hit a fucking free throw.
yep.
Well, I mean, so that means the team gets in and gets a chance at the championship. It's just stupid. That I mean, we had how many drivers each year would I mean the 21 car. the three. He should have
Yep.
been the three twice, but the three. I mean, all these guys that made it in that should have never even been there. Just because you got a win does not mean you should have a shot at that championship. It just doesn't.
Yep. And it devalues your win because it takes the focus immediately to something else other than the fact that, you know what, you should just be celebrating. It's that hard to win, and we're seeing it especially this year with the advantage the Toyotas clearly have in both series. Even though Junior Motorsports is the best team, they're not necessarily executing as the best team. I mean, Justin's got a massive point lead, but um, this series or this set of points, when we talked about it preseason, it's doing what I wanted it to do as well. It's putting an emphasis back on excellence. Excellence as a team, excellence and so you can't afford to make mistakes in pit road, and you can't afford to come unprepared to the track, and you can't afford to be reckless when you have a good car. You need to finish well. You need to, if you've got a fifth place car, you need to finish fifth. If the opportunity to win presents itself and you think you can do it without giving up that, top five finish, great. But if you're going to do like Kansas last year, where or no, Vegas, where Denny takes out, all of Toyota essentially, and then Chase sneaks through and wins. Well, how'd that happen? You can't do that this year. You can't afford to spot the competition, but you have to be very calculated. So I'm
Yeah,
with you
yeah.
as a as a classic fan. Like, I'm very happy with what's happening, even though I'm not happy that Toyota, is whooping everybody's ass right now. From an excellent standpoint, there's been plenty of times, as we'll get into in history of this sport, where one manufacturer just figures it out, and it's up to everybody else to catch up. So yeah,
Well, I mean, it ultimately shows. I mean, not just domination, but you're going to need the consistency. I mean,
yeah,
other than
can't
the
win.
five wins, other than his five wins, he hasn't given up that many points in any of the other races for anybody to take advantage of him stumbling, because they really haven't stumbled.
No,
The same with Algaier, even though Algaier doesn't have the win count that Reddick has. They're not stumbling. They're not making stupid mistakes. They're not leaving points on the table for no reason. I mean, that was the one issue. Well, the one thing I did want to talk about when it comes to the Grand National was the shit with Jesse Love and Austin Hill,
yeah,
because even the broadcast at the end of the race seemed to kind of just beat up on Jesse a little bit. But I agree with Jesse. I came from 10 car lengths back. I caught you. So why did you race me that hard into the corner?
yeah,
You're my teammate. You're mad because I raced you and you ended up actually sucking him around and wrecking the car, which he gave up a shit ton more points this week. But again, I came from that far back. I caught you and I'm passing you. Why did you race me that hard into the corner for me to even have to get into position to drive down on your door and pull you around like that?
yep. Well, like looking at the points for the O'Reilly series, Justin's got 151 stage points alone, which is
Damn.
almost the difference between his 389 point or his 520 points accumulated total to Sheldon Creed's 389. Like, that's how much stage points have put him out front. But
Yeah.
and it's almost the same when you look at Tyler Reddick. So just the Xfinity or the O'Reilly series has run 10 races. So far, Algaier's averaging 52 points a race, comparative to 38 points a race or 39 points a race. That's a big delta, and it goes down dramatically from there. So he's averaging 52 points a race to ninth place is averaging 29, 27, 25, like half the points. And if we go
Yeah.
to when we get into cup, I mean, that's really where him and Tyler are, just destroying the field so much, is that you get to, and the stage points are a little bit more broken up in the side of the cup house, but in terms of total points, we're nine races in for them, and yeah, they're averaging 50. Tyler's averaging 52 points a race. The next closest persons they're averaging 38, 39. Nobody's broken 40. So when you're looking at that, like, that's part of why he's standing alone. Like, and that evidence backs up your stat or your your point of it's not even that they're finishing with the days that they win, it's the fact that the days that they don't give up anything unless they make no mistakes. They don't foul a ball, they don't miss a catch. You know, it's kind of like Moneyball, like let your opponents make the mistakes and you capitalize on it. Well, that's what they're doing right now.
Oh yeah.
So, so with that, Kansas for Cup, they only had one natural caution, and that was at the end. So I think most will say that Kansas was a bad race. Even though I would disagree. Again, it was a traditional race, but by Kansas standards, especially when you think about this is the site of the closest finish with the green white checkers and some of the other finishes we've had there. Comparing it to those races, I can see where people would say it was a bad race, but I didn't see it that way. I mean, you saw passing, tires mattered. Just Toyota. At the end of the day, Toyota's just on a different level right now. Really, is what it comes down to.
Yeah.
What's concerning to me is how bad Chevy and Ford are running, especially at these tracks because there's an abundance of them in the schedule. I think they're all glad for the first time ever. I think they're probably actually all happy to be going to a restrictor plate race next week at Talladega because it gives them an opportunity to possibly gain some ground, especially if Reddick or Hamlin or one of those guys in the top 10 has an issue. If you're further back, you're actually going to have an opportunity to gain some ground.
Oh yeah, as long as you stay away from Cody Ware.
Yeah, as long as you stay away from Cody Ware. So, anything during the race you want to talk about besides toward the end in terms of the race? Like it was pretty much heavily dominated by the Toyotas. So,
No, I mean you've got.
I know Chase Elliott got up there for a little bit, but you really have. I mean, it seems weird to make this comment because he doesn't have a win this year, but you still have Larson carrying the Chevy banner ultimately, at
yep,
least the Hendrick banner. I mean, he's staying up there in the points because just like we talked about earlier, he's not pulling the kind of points or walking away with the averaging 50 points a race like Reddick is. But I mean, 19 stage points yesterday.
yep,
I mean, a stage win and then second in the following stage. Denny, the same thing. That's what's keeping. I mean, Denny has the one win, but that's what's keeping those guys in contention, keeping them up there for the potential shot at the championship. I don't see with this new point system. I don't see this being a Chevy championship year with the lack of performance,
without being able to go out and take the win away from these guys at the end because the Toyotas just seem to have that much fucking speed that they don't. Yeah, I just don't see it. I just don't see it happening. I see him being there at the end, but I don't see him having a chance.
yeah. I don't know unless they find something over the summer. I don't know that there's anything they're going to be able to do. Their only shot is going to be at the beginning of the chase, as it stands right now, is when everything gets kind of reset. And even still, you're still going to start down a deficit of X number of points. But if you're a Chevy and you're in past fifth, you're probably not going to make up that kind of ground. You're going to have to be in the top five if you're a Chevy to even have a chance at this point, based off the dominance the Toyotas have displayed
I mean, honestly,
across the board.
if the performance
Doesn't pick up. I would say you have to be in the top three to even have a chance. And even then,
over a 10 race period,
starting in the top three, if you don't have the performance, which what 50% of the races are a mile and a half, and that's where Toyotas seem to, I mean, absolutely kill them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what's crazy is what Tyler Reddick has managed to do. Well, Denny really should have a bunch more wins than he does. He's led 575 laps to Tyler's 199. Blaney's led 244 laps. Larson's led 500 laps and has nothing to show for it,
yeah.
which is, He's right there on Hamlin's heels. So like it tells you that for at least for Larson, his Chevy, he's not that far out to lunch. The problem is finishing. They're not finishing as high as they should based off of the dominance they have. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's one, two, three, four, five Toyotas. So they make up 50% of the top 10 in the chase. Chevy makes up three, and Ford makes up two. So,
I mean, I'm still kind of baffled. I know we'll
and
get into
Byron's
it at
on his
some
way to
point.
the bottom quick.
Oh,
So,
yeah. But the one that ultimately baffled me, and I know we kind of touched on it going into this, and I didn't change my pick going into this race, but still finished in the top 10. But Bubba was just never there.
yeah. Yeah, I agree. I was surprised he wasn't better, being that he's won at this track. This is one of his best tracks.
Well, not only just that, I mean, the overall speed. That car, for whatever reason, did not seem to have the speed that any other Toyota had in it.
No, yeah, and again, the speed his teammate had. So comparatively to him, he wasn't bad, but he when you compare him to his teammate, it was like they came out of a totally different company, you know. But he still managed to gain 3 spots in the points. So I mean, at the end of the day, that's
Did
what
they,
he needed to do to,
did they
after
end up
the
with stage points?
yes, but he's
Okay.
managed to make up 3 spots, get back up to eighth, which is good because when you look at, all right, Bell fell 3 spots, Busher fell one, Brad fell one, Hocevar regained some ground up three. Chase Briscoe's coming. He's up another six. Like,
So Brad finished. Well, Brad, I don't think ended up with any stage points, did he? They seemed to
no.
struggle at the
Yeah,
beginning of the
so
race.
that's the other thing. So when I was going through and updating my fantasy stuff and looking at who scored what, the stage points, giving up stage points is just killing the guys that even though you're finishing in the top 10, top 15, that doesn't mean anything if you're leaving 20 points on the table every week. Like, all right, so this week Larson scored 54, almost won the race. Let's see who finished. Cindric scored 25 points. Uh, Keselowski had 35. So he had some stage points, but just overall not that great. So, let's see, Wallace 39, Byron 30.
No, Brad didn't have any stage points because he finished sixth, so that would be right. So he only
Yep.
got the only 35 points he got was just for his finish.
Yep. So yeah, like you can see where the stage points bail somebody out. Let me go back to the actual finishing order here. Where is? I don't think it's on this breakdown. Maybe it is.
Where is Brad on the standings?
Brad is sitting ninth. He was eighth.
Well, it's not horrible. I mean,
No, it's not horrible by any means. I mean, he's still
compared to what,
safely in there.
34th that they were last year at this point, or 32nd?
Right, exactly. Like he could be way worse off. I mean, he's got a 23 point, no, 50, 54 point lead over 16th place, which is Suarez. But SVG now with yet another bad finish has dropped to 18th. So if he's gonna get in, these are the kind of finishes he can't have. McDowell dropped down two, Chastain dropped another, Allmendinger dropped another.
See, and that's some of the stuff that I was kind of alluding to with the as far as the broadcast is that was one thing I did kind of enjoy about the Grand National race was the fact that they talked about stuff all throughout the field.
Yep.
For whatever reason, we still cannot seem to be able to fucking do that with a cup race. I don't. I understand where I understand as far as the broadcast, the majority of what should or will be shown is going to be at the front of the race. But when you have no idea what the fuck happened from seventh back throughout the entire race,
Yeah.
I mean, SVG qualified, I think, between 15th and 18th. Right in there is where he qualified. So I figured this was going to be at least be a halfway decent points day and help kind of get their season back on track and not just completely shit the bed when it come to hanging on to the end of that championship possibility. But what the fuck even happened? It was never talked about.
Yeah.
That's a story we can't fucking lose. Is the people even at the back that are still fighting for those last 6 spots from 10th to 16th in what's going to be the chase coming up. Why are we not talking about them throughout the race? Why is this stuff that's not being said? I mean, it's almost like, okay, well, we're going to give the fans back what they want to, but we're going to make it look like it was a bad decision because this isn't necessarily what NASCAR wanted, and we're just not going to talk about what happens throughout the entire field now. I mean, it's
Yeah, because there's definitely a lot of jockeying for position week to week here when you're looking at it. The one that so this is
I mean, those are compelling stories. That should be carrying the season, not just
well,
what's happening in the front of the field.
Let's look at, for example, so we're 9 races in. This race was ultimately the change direction and was shaping up to be great anyway. That last battle at the end was, really good. And then you get Cody Ware, who spins out. Cody Ware has averaged 7 points per race. So if NASCAR truly enforces the performance rule, they need to have a serious discussion, because they're 20 points, 10 points, 7 points, 13 points, 2, 1, 5, 6, 1. Like, other than the 2 restrictor plate races, they're not even in the discussion for, so I mean, there's somebody's going to run last every week, but this is ridiculous. Bowman's is understandable at 9 points because he missed 4 races. Zilich is having the rookie season from hell. That's how he's managed to, they're definitely better, more capable than that. But like, that's crazy. And then Custer isn't much better, 9 points a race averaging.
Yeah,
Like,
I can't even remember
Last time I heard Custer even fucking brought up on the broadcast.
so this point system, what it has done for me is it has strengthened my argument that we need a smaller field, or you need to get rid of some of these teams and bring in people who are willing to spend the money they just got through this new charter structure with the Evergreen Charters to build more performing cars. Because 9 races in and you've essentially earned 9 points a race, like, that's unbelievably bad.
Yeah, that's sad.
That's not even.
Cody Ware, your bottom 3 points guys, are Custer 9.78 points per race, Cody Ware at 7.2 points per race, and after that would be Bowman. But Bowman missed 4 races, so
See, that's what I was just going to ask you. Where did Bowman end up? Because fuck, he was running right there, hanging
he
on
got
to the back
19
end
points.
of the top. But he
Bowman
was hanging on to the back end of the top 10.
Yeah, like, he had a good race. This is what he needed. He finished 18th, so
Oh wow, they lost
for his second race back. When you consider, okay, he finished 18th, and where did Byron finish? Byron finished 7th. Chase Elliott finished 8th. Larson finished 2nd. So, yeah, I mean, they're salvaging good. Byron and Chase salvaged good days out of with that final restart, because they were, Chase was 4th in stage 2, and where was he? He was 6th in stage 1. Byron was outside of stage 1 points earning, and was he outside of it in stage 2? Yep. So that last caution saved Byron's bacon, because otherwise he's going to finish where he was at, 13th to 15th all day. They made a good strategic call, which is what you have to do. When
And he
you
would have lost.
And brings up to your point though, Byron dropping. I mean, that was the only thing that half-ass salvaged saving face, even in the plummet he's taking in the points right now.
Yep. And then conversely, on the other end, like I said, Reddick, 50.7 points per race. And there's nobody close. The next highest is Denny, 38.9 points a race. Elliott, 32.7. Larson, 34. Where's Blaney? Keselowski, strong 28.5. Blaney, 36. And that was with his bad finish, or he'd have more.
And that's kind of crazy
Because
Brad hasn't been pulling stage points. He hasn't been one of the stage point guys.
No, yeah, Brad's been accumulating his points off of straight raw finishes, which is impressive. What he's done is he's finished well without winning stages, but he's also managed to when everybody else is having mistakes, he's not including himself in those problems. That's what saved him as well. 32 points, 22 points, 17. He had a bad day that day, but the rest of the time he stayed above 27, 28 points a race, which is, Joey talked about it last week, going into the prior race, how, the 22 team had kind of already done the math, him and Paul Wolf, which Joey has two bad finishes dragging him down. But otherwise, him and Paul have a mathematical plan on how to get there. 36 points in the first race, 22, 22, 23, 22, 4. Well, that kills you. 46, he made up for it, so he averaged it out. 33, 7. So the two bad finishes are averaged out by the two good finishes that sit in between. But you can't
The
have
question
those.
I the question
Yeah,
I do have,
When he got the 4 and the 7, did Cody
yeah,
Ware beat him?
yeah, yeah. Well, let's see here. Cody Ware for those weeks. All right, so he was 4. Where was Cody Ware? Ware was 1 point on both of those 2 days, so he finished last. But Custer beat him 9 points one race and 12 points another race. So like, and he's second to last in points. Even Zilich beat him on those days. That's saying something.
The one I do have to say, they didn't talk about him a whole lot. I think they brought him up at one point during the race that I can remember, but had an absolutely clean but impressive race was Heim.
Yep.
I mean, you go through, and granted, he does have a few more starts in these cars than Zilich does, but he's coming in and doing what needs to be done. He's keeping his nose clean and learning.
And that's what you got to do.
I mean, I don't think Zilich is going out, and I think what's happening with Zilich doesn't have anything to do with his talent. I think a lot of the problem that we're having with fucking Zilich is just a decline in kind of what we were talking about with the Ford, Chevy, Toyota. Is I don't know how the fuck Trackhouse ended up out in left field, but their performance is just not there.
Yep. What was it? 3 weeks? Not even really 3 weeks ago, right? We're talking about how Trackhouse is, or SVG specifically is, heading the direction he needs to make it, and now they're dropping like a rock. But even still, like even with his performance, like Chastain, you know, is the flagship guy, and it's just crazy just how bad they are right now. Um, which just yeah, I'm sure like I said, Daniel Suarez is probably smiling ear to ear, like you said, I got fired, right? Well, you ran 26th, I ran 19th, 7 spots better. And I'm in contention, and y'all are pretty much all of you are outside and nowhere
Yeah.
near where you need to be. Let's see here. Where's Chastain? Suarez is in 16th. There's not a single Trackhouse car in the top 16 now. And Chastain and SVG are 2 positions apart, and they're heading down, not up. So that's not good. Now your bottom guys haven't really moved. Ty Dillon stayed where he's at. Zilich, no matter what he does, can't seem to get going. I feel so bad for him. But this is the breaks. Like it's a major jump from one tier to the other. Uh, you know,
But like I said, I really don't think it's the talent for that kid. There's
no.
just something way off with that program because he was a lap down, what? Fucking not even halfway to stage one. He was already a lap down.
Yep. Yep. It's definitely, I think he would have done well to stay where he was, first off, just because more seat time is better. But, everybody gets rushed at this point because you don't want to miss out on, the potential opportunity. But I think, we saw it took this long for Ty Gibbs, who won a bunch of races, to finally break through and win Cup. I, if Trackhouse doesn't turn around, it'll be all that and then some before Zilich wins a race.
Oh yeah. I mean,
Because
honestly, I could see Trackhouse losing Zilich if that happens.
yeah. Well, I mean, we saw this time at our we've had 2 road courses already? No, 1. Look at the schedule real quick. But the point is SVG's dominance wasn't even what it was a year ago, So Trackhouse as a whole, they're falling off at such a fast rate this year with this new car. It's questionable if they'll even get anybody in at all at this point.
I mean, this is something that we've all brought it up. We've all talked about it a little bit. It's something that we've talked about a couple times. Just even in the chat, just with all of us guys. You sit back and you think about it, and it just kind of clicked in my head when that comment came out of my mouth. I mean, depending on what the ultimate decision ends up to be with Bowman, that could be a potential seat for Zilich.
Yeah. Yep, for sure. I don't know what Zilich's long-term future looks like signed in, but it's definitely possible because, all right, so SVG finished second to Reddick at Coda. That's the only road race we've had so far this year. And then where was Chastain in that? Chastain was 35th at Coda.
Wow.
That's crazy.
At a race that he's been competitive in when they first started
At a
going.
race that he's been competitive in and won.
Yeah.
So, now the good thing for them is, like I said, we're going to Talladega. That's an opportunity, and Watkins Glen to kind of claw some of those points back.
But the only one I see potentially even pulling any of those points back or gaining any of those points back is going to be SVG.
Yep.
I haven't seen the performance, especially on the track, like you said, we just talked about, not only a win, but was ultimately competitive up until now at that racetrack. I mean, I don't see Zilich or Chastain having the performance there to get himself back into contention.
Yeah. And we're 4 races now from halfway to the cutoff, and the point spread has gotten so wide that, like, if we get to Charlotte and you're struggling, I don't know how much more ground you're going to be able to make up. Like, there's still plenty that could happen, obviously, but some of these folks have grown their leads by so much that, the fact that Chase Briscoe gained 6 positions at this point, 9 races in, is actually very impressive, because big gains like that are going to become harder and harder and harder to do.
Yeah.
Well, they're taking advantage of the Toyota speed and getting their shit together to, claw their way back before the gaps do get any bigger than they already are.
Yep. Let's see here. Yeah. He's now up to 15th. So, he's made his way inside the chase, and now he's working his way up. It'll be harder from here, though, because now you're getting to guys who actually are good and have, more points overall. Looking at it. All right. So Denny's 352. Blaney dropped from second to third, but is in danger of going back before that. Yeah, go ahead.
The way that the points are and sorry, this is the way it should be. The way the points are working now is the exact same way passes work on the racetrack. The farther back you are, if you have trouble, you get back in the pack. It's easy to make up those first few spots to maybe the first half of the group of spots that you need to pick up. But the closer you get to that top 10, a lot fucking harder it is to make that pass.
Yep.
A lot harder it's going to be to make up those points.
Unless
those guys are there. Yeah.
Unless you're Ryan Blaney, then you can pass them all, no problem.
Yeah.
But yeah. So, all right. Well, you want to talk about any other news out there? The only big thing I saw was we saw earlier was Daniel Dye was going to have a couple cup starts. after his suspension, that's good for him. I'm surprised with who it's going to be with Live Fast and BJ McLeod's car, only because of the way the sponsorship dollars work for those lower back end teams. I don't know, it's when Hendrick picked up Larson after his issue and his suspension and everything the following year, Rick Hendrick could afford to self fund. I don't think BJ McLeod can. So this is a very risky decision. Granted, I don't think either one of us think what Dye said was all that, it's just the culture we're in. But can you afford to risk the rest of your sponsorship on future endeavors by putting somebody that's already had that misstep in there?
Yeah, the cancel culture is fucking outrageous in this country or world, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, it's absolutely fucking ridiculous that you're gonna look at potentially destroying somebody's career over something that fucking stupid. And I still to this day, has anybody even asked David Malukas if he was offended by that, or was it just some fucking liberal piece of shit got pissed off somewhere?
Nope, they did
Because
finally ask him. I saw an article where I think Bob asked him, and he didn't even know. He didn't know who Daniel Dye was or that it would have been said.
So
So it's
ultimately,
just,
you potentially destroyed somebody's fucking career over something that the guy he was talking about had no fucking clue about.
yep, yep. And and it's also partially a byproduct of you know, you're putting children in cars that don't
well,
really
and
have the
that
worldview or experience, and that's the other part is making sure that they get the correct training and coaching and everything like that. Because at the end of the day, you're representatives for Fortune 500, Fortune 100, Fortune
and
1000 companies, and mom and pop shops and everything. And you do have to be cognizant of that. They forget, especially when and somebody like Daniel Dye, for example, where parents' money made his opportunities possible to begin with. Where Larson, his was there because of the sponsorship and stuff, but mom and dad didn't buy his ride in Cup or
yeah,
Xfinity. That was stuff that came over from his dirt. So just different there. But
I do got. I mean, and it's something that's been brought up quite a few times. I mean, you sit and you listen to the guys like you sit and listen to Hamlin, you sit and listen to Junior, you sit and listen to a lot of these guys, and they said, you know what, I that sadly, and it is not sadly, but it is a reality of real life. There is a fucking reason why our parents didn't let us do shit like that when we were kids. When I
yep,
got older, my mom and dad would have let me drive a fucking car, but to start your kids at 5 years old and then have these fucking sponsors saying, oh, well, the only way we're going to give you this money is if you put him in this car when he's fucking 17 years old. That kid
yep,
does not have enough life experience, let alone racing experience, to make fucking decisions to not go do stupid shit like that. There's a reason why
yep.
Junior and those guys weren't rookies, and I mean, until they were in their fucking 20s.
Yeah, in their late 20s. They were 26, 27, not 18, 19, 17, 21. And some guys have been able to manage it well, and others we've seen plenty of folks misstep in various ways, whether it's stuff like this, alcohol incidents, drug incidents where use of controlled substances, whatever, where they're not mature enough for the moment, and it
No.
costs them.
Well, I mean, look, I mean,
I even remember just really not that long ago, and depending on who you ask, fucking Scott Riggs was a rookie at 36 years old.
Right.
I mean, his kid is now in the Truck Series, but his dad was a fucking Cup rookie at 36 years old.
It's crazy how much it's changed. Like, yeah, now it's and you know, so we've gone back to this point system, and honestly, that's only fixing half the equation. I don't want to see all these guys gone by any means, but at the same time, you look at it, well, there's a reason why your fan base is also a lot smaller than it used to be because the guys that were racing in their 30s were easier to relate to because they had life experience and had regular jobs and everything. Like I said, these kids have been racing since they were toddlers, or preschool age, and
They've
By the
never
time
had
they get
jobs.
to Cup, and they've never had a job. So then they get to the top three levels, if you will, in their 20s, and there's no connection there.
Yeah,
For somebody like me in their 40s, or my dad in his 70, like they're interesting to watch, but they're not. It's not the same kind of connection as what was built with a Harry Gant or a Ricky Craven, or who pick one that started in their 30s, and or very very late 20s, didn't get that opportunity till then, and so they were a seasoned adult by the time they got into that opportunity. So
well, I mean, and I'll even take it back to
The ARCA series. You go and look at some of these guys that are in the ARCA series. Andy Jankowiak is a big one. He's a
yeah,
fucking pizza delivery guy. That's what he does day
yep,
in and day out. That is his 9 to 5 job as a fucking pizza delivery guy, to be able to have the opportunity to race on the weekend. We can relate to those people.
yep,
I can't relate to a kid that didn't even, and honestly, well, nope, I was homeschooled. They didn't even go to fucking high school. They didn't even build people
yep,
skills with other fucking kids. They were homeschooled so that they could fucking race. And you expect them to go out and be an example for other human beings when they don't have the fucking they don't have the, what's the fucking word I'm looking for? They don't have the people skills. For lack of a better term, they just don't have the fucking people skills because they've never had to deal with people. They were
yep,
coddled at home. They were homeschooled at home. I mean, granted, they get to meet people when they go to the fucking racetrack, but the for everybody to relate to everybody out in the outside world and expect the fans to latch on, like you said, and gain that driver a fucking following. Honestly, I would go watch Daniel Die More on fucking Whatnot, even though they're not going to allow him to ever go back on there, because at least he was putting himself out there and trying to gain that following. He was trying to find a way to connect with the fans, and you fucking shit on him for it.
yep,
Not only
yep,
shit on him, but he almost lost his career.
yep. They're encouraged to put themselves out there, but they can't really put themselves out there, because if you say anything wrong that's perceived as offensive, even if it's you know mimicking a voice, like the what he did was, to me, for the punishment he received, was ridiculous. I honestly thought, when Chris Rice and them said, once he's done, he'll have a spot or whatever. I was like, well, okay, we'll see. But I was expecting them to get rid of him too, just because I didn't trust them to honor their word. But I am curious who made that call, if that was a Ram call, a colleague call, like how that happened.
I
Because
mean,
of the initial
From
offset.
what I, yeah, from what I heard, he resigned on his own. But I don't. There's got to be way more to that story that we'll probably never know.
I don't think you willingly give up a ride like that unless the team basically makes it clear, like, you can come back, but we don't have your back. Well, then you're kind of forced into it, which is probably could be what happened. So
Yeah, you can come back, but you're gonna be racing the trucks that got fucking wrecked, and we straightened out the frame as best as we could, and yeah, yeah.
so all right, well, that's all I got. Can't think of really anything else. Um,
I mean, we touched base.
Base on it a little bit,
yeah.
but the only other comment
Oh
that I
yeah.
had was that note that I put in there about just, I mean, ultimately how shady and shitty of an outlook it gave me towards Gibbs, even though they're dominating in the Cup Series right now. But the fact that you have an engineer or mechanic that left your organization and goes over to Legacy Motorsports, and you publicly go out and say that you are just absolutely okay with his decision because he went to a Toyota team. So it makes it look like Gabe Hart really didn't do anything wrong. You guys are just being assholes, and you filed a lawsuit against him because he fucking went to a Chevy team and not a Toyota team.
Yeah, it's because he took the information outside of the Toyota umbrella, which would make sense then, that it's probably not even Gibbs's money being spent on the lawsuit. It's probably TRD's money more than anything.
But how much does it ultimately translate though?
Well, right, like, clearly what you gave him ain't helping all that much. If you want to go down that path, you're running roughshod over the Cup Series right now. So what's your complaint exactly?
Yeah. Yep.
The Chevys aren't gaining on you. So, and they got 4 races basically figured out before we start the downhill push towards the race to the chase. So
I just thought that was a stupid move on their part.
yeah, yeah, like I was happy for him with everything that Ty has gone through for them to win last week at Bristol and everything like that separate but yeah, it definitely doesn't help the perception for JGR and Toyota at all.
Well, and I ultimately, with the lawsuit still, is there still stuff pending with the lawsuit, isn't there?
Yeah,
That just seemed like an awful, stupid fucking comment to make when you still have the lawsuit pending.
yeah, because the decision it hasn't been decided yet. Like it's a temporary restraining order, not a permanent. So it can be modified. Um,
And if I was Gabehart's attorney, I'd absolutely be in. Let's say, okay, so wait a minute. So you're telling me that it's supposedly because of this, but you turn around and they make this comment here that, oh well, we're going to give him our best because he went to a Toyota team. So is it really because you ultimately think I did something wrong, or did you just tell the whole world why you actually took me to court and you're just pissed because I went somewhere other than Toyota?
Yep. Basically, yeah. I think it depends on what the lawyers do with it, but yeah, I think this could definitely unwind JGR's case pretty quickly.
Yeah, I just thought that was absolutely stupid. But yeah, that was the only other thing I had from that happened recently that I could think to bring up. So
So, all right. Well, um, I would like to ask Blake if he still thinks it's impossible for Reddick to win 10 like Larson did. Like he's at 5 and there's lots of opportunities left.
he's already halfway there. Yeah.
you know, 3 races, one thing. Now we're at 5, and they're firing on all cylinders. They're winning when it's not their day, and they're winning when it is their day. So that's a bad combination to be going up against right now.
Yeah, absolutely. The only other questionable part about, I know we'll end up getting into it, but I still cannot wrap my head around the fact that we're taking the All-Star race to a track that does not have lights. So you're not going to put what should be one of the biggest and most exciting races of the year, being the All-Star race, taking it to a racetrack that's not going to lend itself to side-by-side beating and banging racing. The fucking track is way too fast. A 1 mile banked oval, high banked oval. And
Well, when you look
even
at
if
races that could, we have doubles that we could easily make a decision and take one away. That would then open the door for Dover to go back full time on the schedule, and you could still have your all-star race at somewhere else.
yeah,
Although I really think the all-star race should come at the very end of the year. It should be the last race we run. After the championship's been decided, you select the all-stars based off the year's performance. And okay, we go somewhere and have a blowout. You do the championship ceremony and the all-star race in one location. I think that would be a worthwhile thing.
either that or that be the fucking opener for the fucking chase.
Yep. Yeah. You have an all-star break before we start the championship run.
Yep.
That'd work too. Yeah. All right.
I mean, you want to build the hype for the chase. You want to make it a fucking event. Then yeah, here you go. This is what and not with everybody fucking included.
Nope. I think what I would do, I like your suggestion of doing it. So we do the 26 races, then you give everybody a chance to reset between now and the chase. You give them a 1 week break, and you open the chase with the all-star race, and the all-star race is comprised of 2 groups of people. And if you're not in either group, you're not in it, period. There's no chances to qualify in. It's your 16 chase participants and any race winners who didn't make that 16. If you won a race but you weren't inside the top 16, you're still an all-star. You won a race. I mean, that's a hell of an accomplishment. We'll give you your time in the sunshine, but you're not going to be competing for a championship. But we'll go somewhere and we'll run 200 laps at a short track or 100 laps at uh, you know, a bull ring or something, and just let them
You,
beat it
you
out.
at least
at least get that.
highlight for the season of being a race winner.
Yep. Before,
I mean,
and it gives you that opportunity to be talked about in the stage, because if you're not in that top 16 but you want to race, you're going to be overshadowed for the remainder of the season. So this is one last chance to get you in front of the TVs and get your sponsor, your team, that recognition again. So I think that'd be good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, appreciate your time. Enjoy the rest of your day off. Thank you all for listening, and we'll see what we get from this coming week's manufactured excitement from Talladega. I know we'll come back to Blake being pissed with it being what it is, and that's okay. I'm with him. I'm hoping that they've made some changes actually, what? Before we cut off, they changed the stage lengths, so we'll see what happens with that. I think that's really the thing to watch, is does the moving of the stages around at least put a band-aid on it until they get to preseason testing next year, which is what Steve O'Donnell said was the goal of that, was to, by doing preseason testing, it's going to allow them to do some things that they need to do to address this car with testing being so limited.
I mean, I think ultimately all it's going to do is it's going to make the beginning of the race fucking boring instead of the middle of the race. That's all we're going to do.
Yeah.
I mean,
we'll see what happens, but they're basically trying to make all the excitement move to the end, which, that's where it belongs. So, if you're going to run around and save fuel anyway, I'd rather you do it all at the beginning.
I don't know. I can see a mile and a half pulling strategy, trying to save fuel. I can see at a road course trying to pull strategy, trying to save fuel. Short tracks doesn't make any fucking sense trying to fucking run long and pull fuel strategy at a short track. But a restrictor plate track, now that's all and I know we're not supposed to call them that either, but that's what they'll always be in my head.
Same.
There should never be a reason. I'm sorry. When your biggest story of the entire fucking broadcast is showing for almost 10 fucking laps straight that the 2 leaders or 3 leaders running 3 wide are running 40% throttle, how is that giving the fans? Yeah, you know where I'm going with that. I don't even want to keep going because it just makes me more and more pissed off. But
the only thing I feel like they should do more than anything at this point, especially with at least for the restrictor cars, and I'll always call them that because that's what I grew up with, but is for all these tracks, for these 6 races, give them a super small fuel tank. Give them like 10 gallons. You're gonna have to pit a ton. We're gonna force you to break everything up. You're not gonna be able to back it down to 30 or 40%, because if you do, there's not enough downforce. You'll wreck the damn car.
Yeah.
So at that point, then you almost force them back to high speed.
You know what?
I think the only tracks we should run these fucking cars at are the restrictor plate tracks, and your fucking diffuser is hooked to your fucking your gas pedal, your fucking throttle pedal. If you're not pushing it all the way down, that fucking diffuser drops and you lose all the downforce on your fucking car and you can't drive it. So the only way to be able to drive the fucking car is to be full throttle.
I like it. Let's do it. That sounds good. This valve pulls that blade.
Yep. Good God,
like the
man.
further down you push the throttle, the more the spoiler starts to lay down and the diffuser comes up, and let's see. Then we'll see who's got the balls to hold on to it. They're running 40% throttle because they can't hold on to it instead of
yeah. See who the actual drivers are.
That would be an interesting take. I would actually like to see that. I think that'd be wild.
I'll have to send that one over to Mark and let Mark run with that one.
Be like, okay, so if you hooked it up, because I remember, I think it was I can't remember his damn name. Tim Brewer. Yeah. Was it him who mentioned they had the switch that once they started on the qualifying lap, it would lay the spoiler down and then it would come back up, kind of like the old school radio antennas, like on a Cadillac or whatever. So do that. Like a certain amount of throttle will get you to lay the spoiler down, which would let you go faster, but also you're going to lose downforce. So how fast can you go in a straight line? And then you have to roll out. You'd actually have to roll out in the corners. You wouldn't be able to mat it anymore. which
And
they
you wouldn't even,
pass it.
but you wouldn't be able to just fucking lift either. You'd have to literally roll out of the
Yeah, you'd have to roll out, but you wouldn't be able to
you'd
let all
have
the way
to
off
drive.
because it'd be like
have to
dropping a
drive the
parachute.
car.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you don't want to drop a parachute in front of everybody else. So then they're like going in there. I think it would be wild, actually. I think this is what we need. Everybody say that you agree, and let's petition NASCAR. All right.
Yeah, I'm sending that email to fucking Mark and Matt Martin right now. Like that, he seems to be the one to send this shit to get it heard. So
Yep. So, all right. Well, that's all I got now. So we'll see what happens this weekend.
All right, brother.
Enjoy the rest of your week. Thanks for jumping on. Until next time, everybody.